Right. That was quite sudden. Right. Okay, so presuming we're live, which we are. Yes, hello. I am Viper UK. This is Hotshot Racing. I'll keep it blunt to the point. So you had Pat, which I believe is the dog. I'm just going to kind of introduce you to my version of the dog. Bulldog, aka Aston Martin knockoff. Right, so I'll give you a brief rundown. I'm only putting this car on the screen for this part now because you won't see it in the actual run. We're actually using an F1 car in the run. So just to kind of quickly run over what I'm going to do. So this is the normal difficulty. I'm doing Grand Prix 1 through 4. So we have the Tour, Pro Circuit, Racing Elite, and Hotshot. There is a 5th Grand Prix, but given the fact that that was actually DLC when the game released, we have GP 1 through 4, so that's what we're going to be doing. As you can see, we've got the normal difficulty with hard difficulty and the expert. We're going to do it on normal, which means that the AI will be rubber banding like, well, God knows what. And yeah, it'll make it very interesting for us. So to show, we've got plenty of characters, but the one we're using is Kaiko, who hails from Japan. We're using her Super F90, and we're going to be using manual transmission. So if we're ready to go on time, time will begin when the game counts us in. So the game will count down to 3, 2, 1, and that's when time will start for us. So let's get into the game first and foremost. So first race is at the marina. So here we go, 3, 2, 1, and we're off. Okay, so first thing you'll notice is, yes, we are driving a Formula 1 car. Like I said, this is the Super F90. This is supposed to be one of the best cars to drive in the entire game. Now, as you can see immediately, that the art style that this game has gone for is something of a, I'm not going to say cartoonish vibe, but it's very much like a, if anyone's played Grow Home, that sort of style, like I'd say. I will be honest as well, so there's a couple of things to point out. So in the Grand Prix, we have a timer, which you can see at the top of the screen. And what we'll be doing is we've got to do 3 laps per circuit to win the race. Each Grand Prix is broken up into 4 races. Now, what we will be trying to do is trying to take advantage of the AI being in front sometimes. So, like, they've got this draft mechanic, which is very overpowered. And also, as well, we do have the occasion, like I said, the rubber band, so it's making it more easy for them to catch up. But they also make a really useful draft to keep us within the mix. So essentially see the normal, hard, and expert categories as your 50cc, 100cc, and 150cc. Now the tracks do get a bit more difficult as they go, but yeah, it's very much a case of trying to just race and go as fast as possible. We'll be going through several different environments, of course. So what we'll be trying to do here is, if I can at least, so if I drift against the car, what's going in a straight line, it will mean that I will be able to do whatever it is I do best, and stay out front. Now, ideally, I want to make sure that as I get to the end of the race, I want to make sure that I am going as fast as possible, but obviously I want to make sure that I am also, I'm going to be, well, what I'm going to be doing is trying to just keep ahead. If I use a boost right near the end, that should usually guarantee me the win. Now, here's the funny thing. In this game, especially in the normal category, you can actually be right at the very back of the pack, and you'll be able to catch the AI up. So you can see here that I'm reaching top speed without actually doing anything. And the characters themselves, by the way, I should probably mention this. So I mentioned before that there's several different characters. Each one will have their own set of cars. So, for example, Kaiko, I think it is, who we're playing as. She sticks to Japanese cars plus the Formula 1 car, which I believe is the fastest car. It handles the best as well. But then you have like, I think it's Aston or something, who has like some British cars and things like that. One of the guys has American cars, one has what looks to be German cars, so Porsche 911, that sort of thing. The one main thing I should probably mention is that if a car looks very similar to a real life car, that's because it is. It is essentially supposed to be a knockoff variant of the car to obviously get away with, well, you know, copyright and stuff like that. Get out of that side of things, of course. It's also worth mentioning as well, so this game released 5 years ago, I believe, in 2020. It was released as I think it was released as like a certain variant of a game that was apparently never seen before. Now, I'll be completely honest, I don't think that it does that much that's that new. But in overall, it doesn't do too bad either. I mean, for example, here we go. So I was mentioning about layouts and environments and things earlier on. So we're in the jungle environment here. So this jungle environment has different races and things like that. So just to give you like a bit of a rundown with certain environments that we race in. So we're racing like the city and that sort of thing. We're racing what I would say is somewhere that looks similar to like Switzerland or Germany. So you've got a jungle section like now, and we have a bit that is casino based. And I'll be honest, it kind of reminds me of something like Casino Park out of Sonic Heroes. Yeah, the more you know, I guess, for that one. I mean, like I said, I'll let you be the judge when we get to it. So it is worth mentioning. So as I was saying earlier on, the AI is going to constantly be ahead, but also will also be on my tail if I'm ahead, because of, like I said, the AI tends to be. So it's supposedly a case of the rubber band between you and the AI is actually not too bad here. It makes the game quite fun, and I'll be honest, I am not a lover of rubber banding in racing games. I think it's a very cheap tactic of making the experience feel good, but realistically, in my opinion, if you're able to drive fast enough and pull out a lead, you should be allowed to keep that lead, whereas the game deliberately takes it off you by, like I was saying before, you know, it deliberately takes it off you because of the fact of, well, you could, if you so desired, you'd be like, oh, okay, I could get ahead, but oh no, the game won't let you do that. Simple, plain and simple, won't let you do it. However, on the hard and expert difficulties, I have reason to believe, from what I remember hearing, is that the hard and expert difficulties do actually allow you to actually pull away from the AI because your top speed is a little bit higher, I think. Now you would think, well, hang on a minute. If the races don't change, because they don't, but yet you go faster on the hard and expert difficulties, why don't you run that? Truth be told, I've only run the normal difficulty and it's the only one that I know how to run. So here's what I mean as well, like right near the end, trying to get boost right near the end. It is just one of them things. It's just, yeah, I couldn't even explain. So here we go, Castle Funfair. Now, I'll be quite honest with you here. I personally believe that the way the environments are done are very colourful. And I do think that it does show off the natural beauty of this game. Like, I just need to make one thing clear. This is an indie racing game. I don't know how much it costs now. You probably get it on sale, given it's 5 years old. But this is also something else as well. So, whilst it's an indie game and it's an indie racing game, and a lot of people do tend to look down on indies for whatever reason. I'll be honest, I was one of them people. But I think nowadays, looking down on indie developers is really bad. And definitely support your indie developers wherever you can. But the main thing I just kind of want to point out, so if this game looks or feels familiar, it probably is. So one of the main things about this game is that it's supposed to replicate the racing games of old. So I guess more kart racers. I'm not going to say Mario Kart because well, there's no blue shells or red shells for a start. But I think like the drifting mechanics, it's very much a case of classic retro game vibes mixed with like Ridge Racer, which obviously we know drifting simulator, whatever you want to call it. Initial D, I guess, is drifting simulator as well. But yeah, it's like I said, I think for the art style, the gameplay, I think it's very well done, and definitely worth checking out if you get given a chance to check this game out. Now, there is something else I've not mentioned, which is in the game's original release, there was actually a destruction mode, I guess you would call it. So you're able to actually destroy each other. When the final game released, however, it was less so a good idea to have that. That was kept for single race only, which is a shame. Anyway, so we're now moving on to, so that's the first tour one, so the tour is done. We are now on to Pro Circuit. So I just kind of want to make one thing clear, first and foremost. So, whilst the game's decided to drop quite a lot of frames there for some reason, I don't know why, but anyhow. Like I said, for an indie game, I think it does its job considerably well. And like I said before as well, it's very much a case of, if this game was about like destruction, I think it would still fit. I think it definitely did fit. However, I also think that there would maybe be a bit too much going on. So, for example, you can see the bar at the bottom, it fills up, I'm able to then boost. I can only boost once I fill the bar. It's not a case of the more bars I fill, the more powerful the nitrous is. I want to make that clear as well. This isn't like Ridge Racer where if I boost from 2 bars of boost instead of 1, it basically allows for a much more powerful boost that lasts longer. That's not the case. The bars just go down one at a time, and that's it, really. I do believe there is multiplayer for this game. You can play it multiplayer. It's also worth noting that at the end of every Grand Prix, you can unlock a different ending depending on the character you're playing with. Now, obviously, we'll get the same ending for Kaiko for every single Grand Prix, but if I was to race as, like I said, race as Aston, for example, look at the guy, there he is, in his knockoff Jaguar E-Type, he would actually have a different ending to us, as you might expect. There's also one other thing to mention too, which is the fact that this game does let you customize quite a lot. There's quite a lot of items to buy. In fact, there's a Steam achievement to buy stuff, and also there's some neat little Easter eggs in this game too. So you may have just seen then a cow getting abducted by a UFO. Yeah, I don't know either, but there you go, I guess. Also, welcome to Fossil K. Now this looks very familiar, doesn't it? I know you're going to say, it looks like the end of the last track. Well, in fact, it's not. Very far from it. You may be wondering as well, that's another thing to kind of point out, that we did have, like in Mario Kart, you do have the boost start, providing you've obviously got enough revs. So for us, the optimal range is where the 7 and the 8 is. There is a bar between 7 and 8, and you can, it's like the end of the yellow but the start of the red. And if you hit that about there, or you hold it about there, then you're able to, obviously, you're able to do a rocket start or boost start, whatever you want to call it, and then go from there. Also, unsurprisingly, the AI does have infinity boost, so they do have a bit of a cheap tactic. So you can see here that these are some of the many cars we get. Also, the other thing as well is you can customize, granted not much, but you can customize like some of your character's race suit. It doesn't have too many options. Like a lot of things are like 1 of 2 or 1 of 3, so there isn't too many options. However, you can, it does allow for some customization, and given the amount, like I said, there's I think 10 or 11 characters that you can play as. So the fact that you have these amount of characters is pretty impressive. And like I said, they're all customizable. It's very, very cool. So yeah, very, very good. Also, if you boost what's getting, what's drafting someone, your top speed tends to go a lot higher than the top end of your boost. It's pretty awesome if you can nail it. So in terms of like the record, so this game's actually decided on in-game time rather than RTA. So currently, the in-game time record for this is 35:45 by Vixen, who actually destroyed this game. He's very, very good at it. Very, very good. So I'm gonna just boost here.
Real quick, Viper, while you're zooming through this game here, I want to remind folks at home about one of our open incentives for our next run Buck Up and Drive called the Van Diesel. And just reading some words I was given here, the Van Diesel is watching you. You cannot look away. You are filled with thoughts of racing, of speed, of family. Do you want to know what the heck I'm talking about?
Family.
Well, you better donate to unlock that Van Diesel incentive for our upcoming Buck Up and Drive run. Once again, I saw the picture earlier, and y'all are not ready. And if we meet that incentive, we'll get to see what the Vin Diesel is, as T-Tree will choose that car for the entire run. Yeah.
Alright, thanks very much. So, in my personal opinion, if we've got anyone here that's a fan of dolphins or sea life, you may like this map. So this is one of my favorites. So Ocean World is quite a good track for a number of reasons. Very much a tropical paradise sort of looking map. But I think what really does it is when we get to this bit here, you have the dolphins doing that, jumping through the water and everything like that. It is pretty good. Pretty good. Very enjoyable. So yeah, anyone that's a fan of dolphins or animals, I'm sure you'll like this. What else can I say about the game? Okay, so as I was kind of mentioned before, so there, like, apart from the Grand Prix, which is the main part of the game that we do for the speedrun part, there are like your typical time trial. You can do a single race, you can just do a regular race. There is some nice little game modes as well. So, for example, there's the destruction race thing that I was talking about before, which is pretty good. So you've got that, but then on top of that, you have a few other bits and pieces as well. So, for example, there is, like I said, there's a destruction race, there is your regular race, there is a cops and robbers mode. I don't know how that works, but yeah, go figure. I guess it just works. That's all I'm gonna say. It just works. It just works. So you're able to do a few little ones like that, which is quite good. Also, it's probably worth noting as well, so you may be wondering the obvious question, which is, why am I playing in manual gears? So, the reason we play in manual gears in most racing games is for one reason and one reason only. The cars top out at a higher top end speed. That's usually why most racing games do it. There are a select few where automatic is either just mandatory because the game just takes forever when it comes to manual gears, or it's just easier to use automatic than it is to use manual. Now, me personally, I've always been an automatic kind of guy until I've got used to the game first and foremost. And like I was saying before, is that there isn't too much to it once you get used to it. The only thing I will say is that for me personally, my main gremlin with this game is the way that the game works in terms of gearing up and gearing down on a controller. Now, I don't know whether you can remap. I haven't tried to remap the controls, but the main thing I do remember above anything else was the fact that when it comes to, so when you see me at the start of a race and you see me accelerating, I'm using the right trick. So I use a Xbox 360 controller. You can use the Xbox One controller, PS4, PS5, whatever you want to call it. Whatever controllers are, whatever controller you want to use, you can use. But when you're doing it on a controller, like I said, just to use my 360 controller as an example here, you're able to accelerate and brake using the triggers, like you would expect, right? Except when it comes to doing the gear up, you don't have, like, I was trying to have it as, so I could accelerate with my trigger and then change up and down with the face buttons, so the A and the X button on my 360 controller, or Xbox One controller, if you use one. And I was like, oh, maybe I can do it that way. No, turns out that the gear up, gear down buttons are hard locked to your shoulder buttons. So as a result, that now means that when it comes to the so that now means when it comes down to using my face buttons and stuff like that, it's a bit tricky. So there's that. Anyhow, let's move on to our next one. So immediately on to Racing Elite. So this is tour number 3. And anyone like dinosaurs or Jurassic Park, you might like this one. So what I'm doing is I'm immediately mashing the button for the gear up button. So what like I said, just to kind of give you an idea as to what I'm doing. So what I'm actually doing is mashing the gear up button with so where my fingers are on the controller, you can see here that normally it's my index finger, right? When I'm doing it at the start, I'm using this finger to change up a gear. It's a bit tricky. You do get used to it, I'll be honest. I have got used to it quite a fair bit. But for most people, it may be a bit tricky, I will be honest. So, yeah, just bear that in mind. Have we got any messages or anything like that? Feel free to go right ahead. Plenty of time.
Yes. I just want to remind folks, earlier you might have heard me mention about our milestone incentive to unlock that Rift of the Necrodancer run later today. And I just want to remind folks that your donations will actually count as like a 2-for-1 sort of thing. Like, if you donate and apply your donation towards that upcoming Van Diesel incentive, your donation will also put us closer to that Rift of the Necrodancer bonus game. That's just extra value. That just sounds great to me.
Thank you very much. So I was mentioning before about some of the cars in this game. And the one that Victor's driving there, that is a Porsche... Oh, 917, either a 917 or a 912, I can't remember. I think it's a 917. Remember it also. Yep, the dinosaurs finally did their Jurassic Park bit and actually roared. I do quite like that as well, like the track kind of evolves a little bit as you go around the track, so certain animations will play either on the last lap or on certain laps. I do quite like that in an indie game they've managed to somehow do that. You know, they've managed to fit that in, which is really good. Also, I would say as well, just whilst we're on the topic of not just indie games, but like in general, I feel very much as though it did nick a leaf out of Mario Kart's book by, you know, by having the game sped up a little bit on the last one. So this is Heated Highways. Now, for me personally, I am not the biggest fan of this track. I don't know why, I just seem to really struggle with it as a track. Mainly because of the fact that I think it's this corner. Yeah, more or less that corner. So, hairpins in this game aren't too bad. But that one, I don't even know. I want to say it is bloody awful. But there you go. Also, the AI loves to just do this, where they can take each other out, they can take me out if I'm unlucky. I go through a fiery cave, but it's definitely not going to overheat my car. Like I said, this game is fairly straightforward. It is very much aimed at young kids, more than anything else. But if you're into your racing games, and also as well, a lot of people nowadays, I think, would, if it was a racing game, it would have to be easy to pick up and play and not too difficult. This is very much one of them games, personally speaking. Whilst we're kind of on the topic as well of like racing games that do like a really good job and are racing and that sort of thing, I could highly recommend Victor Heat Rally, which was a indie racing game that was made by Platonic Friends, and that released in October of last year. And its art style, its gameplay is very fast and frantic. Would highly recommend it. I do believe you can get hold of it on sale if you so desire. Same with this game too. Granted, this is 5 years old now, which I'll be honest does not feel like it's 5 years old. I don't believe this game's 5 years old, but it is, and I have to live with that fact. I have to accept that fact. It's not an easy fact to live with, but you know, it is what it is. Also, I just about managed to eke ahead at the end there, which is all good fun. So, on to Alpine Town now. Now, this particular race is a bit tricky because, I apologise if I've said that over a fair few races, by the way. This one is particularly tricky because most of it is, well, flat out. It's basically a giant circle with a few corners thrown in there. So, getting boost and building boost is a bit tricky, as you might imagine. So this is where the need for having someone up front kind of comes in handy. So, like I said, I'm able to do this and drift against the car, which will keep me straight. Now, the last thing I want him to do is put me in the wall like that. If he puts me in the wall, it's not game over, but it's not great either. Also, they are really trying. Wow. Today, they are really trying. The AI is very much trying today. Now, if I so desire, I could stay like this to keep myself going. Now, as I was saying, it is very much a you push, I'll pull kind of situation with this game. Well, this particular race, should I say. The other races, they're a cakewalk. This one, less so. I think there's maybe one other race which is coming up, which I could maybe say is a bit tricky. But again, we'll get to that in due course, don't you worry. So yeah, this reminds me very much of... Right, okay, don't ask me why. Very much reminds me of, like with the setting at least, very much reminds me of the whole Lord Farquaad, you know, castle sort of thing from Shrek. I don't know. Generally don't know. You can see here, this is what I mean about being able to catch up. So I'm now going to try at least to have some sort of boost. So hopefully with a bit of luck. If I keep my boost long enough, doubt it, but if I'm able to keep my boost, then I'll be able to stay ahead. That's the other thing as well. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, just real quick. I know earlier you mentioned some other racing games you've enjoyed, and I'm just curious. Chat, what are some of your favorite racing games here as we're opening up Prevent-A-Thon 5 with some racing games? Just send in donation messages and let me know what your favorite racing games are. Obviously, like a lot of people right now, I'm playing a lot of Mario Kart World, but I'm also quite partial to the Forza Horizon games.
Yeah, Forza Horizon games are quite good. They're quite laid back. I still remember when Horizon 1 came out and thinking... I mean, I was playing Forza for a couple of years prior to that, and it did feel like a breath of fresh air with the whole open world thing. I think there's a lot of games that do the whole open road thing. I mean, for me personally, I'm more of a fan of... I liked my, and I quote, simulation games many years ago. But nowadays, I feel like the racing market in particular is very oversaturated with just simulation stuff. You have your sports games like F1 and WRC and stuff like that. But I think that the games are so heavily based on you know, there's such a heavy emphasis on realism that it's it just kind of makes the games a lot harder to get into now, I think. I don't know how many people I am speaking for. I think that when you get a game like R Factor or Assetto Corsa or like the latest Forzas, I guess, it's very much a case of simulator, iRacing, obviously, of course, that sort of thing. You very much have to sink the time and money into the games, especially with all the DLC they throw in and updates and everything. Whereas I think with some games, it's like we mentioned then the Horizon games. For me, the Horizon games are not so much simulation, very much more slightly more arcade. They're a lot simpler. They have some sort of simulation to them, but not as big as like if you were playing the Forza Motorsport games, like where the cars handle, like they weigh 5 tons. They actually feel like a car. Yeah, give me something like this any day. I'm more, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of the whole simulation thing. I think you have to have the mindset for simulation more than like arcades. Like for me, I think that simulation games are no fun, especially speedrunning wise. I think that speedrunning a Forza game, I mean, it's not just Forza, but I think trying to speedrun a game that's based on simulation is a bit hard to impress people with, whereas if hard to get people into, because then they realize, oh, if I want to be that good at the game, I'm gonna have to like really invest in it. And well, granted, that's true, you have to do it with every game. I think that it is very much a case of the simulation games are more testing, we'll call it. But,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's just me.
Just real quick here, we did get a donation in, a $20 donation from an anonymous donator that just says, "It ain't about winning or losing, it's about family." And with that donation, we did meet our Van Diesel incentive, so thank you so much for that donation, and y'all are not prepared for the absolute silliness of the Van Diesel.
Oh, mine as well. I've recently just got back into started watching the Fast and Furious films again. I watched the first one the other day and watched 2 Fast 2 Furious, I think, last night. So, yeah, I've got back into watching them again. Funnily enough, I was at a Japanese car show last weekend, and there was a Nissan Skyline R34 there, and a couple of 200 SXs and Datsuns. I think there must have been about 10 Datsuns there. There was a lot of Subaru Imprezas, which I'll be honest is never a bad thing, especially in my opinion, because I'm a massive fan of Subaru. It went down in my own Subaru to the event, so yeah, no, it was really fun. It was a JDM day, I think it was called, at Castle Combe Circuit near Chippenham, the UK. So yeah, a fairly good day out. It was a fairly long trek and a fairly tiring day, I'll be honest. Driving 400 miles in a day there and back was knackering. Like, I get it if it's a one-way trip and then you're resting for a bit, but yeah, I was tired. Very tired.
Yeah, that definitely sounds exhausting.
I know some people can just do like a couple hundred miles as if it was nothing, but yeah, me, I don't know.
Yeah, I could do long distance drives, but I could do at most like 6 or so hours in one sitting, and then even after that, I need to spend like 3 days recovering from that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, funnily enough, literally just before last weekend, the weekend before, I was at UKSG in Glasgow, and that's 220 miles to drive. Now, granted, that's not as far as some people drove during that event. For example, Joshima's, for those who may or may not know him, is a GTA speedrunner, mainly specializes in GTA San Andreas, to be exact. But he drove from Portsmouth, which from near me is like another 200 odd miles. So basically, whatever I did, double it. I drove for just short of 4 hours. He drove for 8. Yeah, guys just army, if you ask me, to do such a thing, to be like, yeah, I'll just drive 8 hours. But I mean, to him, it's worth it. So I'm really not gonna complain. Like as someone that likes driving, I think the furthest I've driven is maybe, I think it was like 5 or 6 hours to get to Croydon near London, and I did not like that at all. I think I stopped after about 5 hours. Did 5 hours, got to the M25, was like immediately pulled over, was like, I need a break. I've drove enough already. And then did like the last hour to get into Croydon. Coming home was a lot easier. I think I left Croydon at like 12-ish, half 11, 12 o'clock. And yeah, ended up getting back home for like 5:30, 6 o'clock. I think I just got home as the F1, the Grand Prix had finished, from memory. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, my longest drives would be when I would come home from university. I'd have to drive like 7, I think it's like 7, 8 hours. And funny thing about living in the United States is that 7, 8 hour drive is all in one state. I never left my state.
I forget, it's like, for us, if you do an 8-hour drive, you go from the top to the bottom of the UK. But if you did that in the States, yeah, it is the size comparison. I think the main thing above all else was a case of, like we were saying to a bunch of like people who came off from Europe, and it's like, I don't get what it is with Europe, how they can just drive so much, and they'd be like, yeah, I could just drive like 15 hours from France to bloody Sweden. And I'm like, we couldn't do that. I'd have to be stopping like every like 5 hours at least. Probably less than that.
Yeah, I need to stop at around 7, 8 hours. Like, I can't do more than that without like taking a rest.
Well, again, I think it all depends on whether you're that used to doing long drives or not, more than anything else. Also, just guys, whilst we're speaking of like driving and stuff like that, so this is the game's version of Las Vegas, I would have guessed, and yeah, it's quite an enjoyable, like atmosphere. I think very much it's a tricky one in what it tries to do. But yeah, so you can see here that there's like, so there's Hotshot Racing there going around the icon. I just saw as well, which I've never seen before. Probably because I've missed it because I'm a bit of an idiot. But one of the signs has special effects, the charity on it, which is pretty cool. Just to kind of mention as well, so Sumo Digital made this game, for those that don't know. So yeah, there it is, special effects on the left hand side. So I did not know the advertisement was in this game, I'll be honest. It's the first time I've ever seen that in there, and I know for a fact that that is not like been added in a recent update. So I don't think this game's been updated for a couple of months now. So be interesting to see if I can keep my head on and win this. Should be able to. You may notice as well, if I hit a wall, I lose whatever I've earned whilst drifting. So if I drift for a fair bit and then touch a wall, it's like the game goes, no, you're not having that. We're not letting you keep that. So I do have to be careful. So I just need to make sure that I'm not doing too bad, and hopefully with a bit of luck I can at least boost, there we go, to the finish line. Nice. Okay, so last race. Preview. This is the last race of the game, so time will, oops, there we go, and there's my first blowout. Ah, well, it happens. I don't think I've had that for a long time, but here we go. We're a fair bit behind, but we'll probably catch up with these. It's a bit of a shame, that. I was looking forward to that. So, this is the, like I said, final race, so time will be when I cross the finish line. The race is about 2 and a bit minutes long. So it shouldn't be too bad. So the only thing I do remember about this track is that you need at least 1, maybe 2 bars of boost near the end. Just because of the fact that, well, basically this straight is that long. It's just like, I'll get there eventually. Yeah, probably just do a quick few final bits, just say a few final things during this last race. So, just wanted to mention first and foremost that you know, thanks to my awesome community for being supportive of what I do. Whenever I do stream, at the moment it's not been lately, not too much lately because of personal reasons, but yeah, it's been a great ride for the last couple of years, and yeah, you know, like I said, thankful to have my my partner in crime as well, Linky. She's probably downstairs doing something, but yeah, she knows I love her very much, and yeah, she's always been there through thick and thin for like the last few years, last 2 years at least, lots have been together. And yeah, I also just want to mention as well, real quick, and just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, you know, many thanks to Prevent-A-Thon for allowing me to show this off. I'll be honest, I haven't done a run of this in quite a while, so this has very much been a bit of a de-rust, but I will take it. I will take it. It's not been too bad. I think that I've done reasonably well, all things considered. So all's well it ends well, I think. And time will be coming up when I cross the line. And time.
Woo! GG.
There we go. We get the final cut soon.
That was awesome.
So yeah, in terms of in-game time, that was just short of 45 seconds off the record. So I think, I don't know how much it was off my PB, maybe 10, 12 seconds? 16 seconds apparently, according to my splits. So I will take that, given the fact that A, I haven't run this game in quite a fair bit. B, it's a simple game to pick up, and C, to get like any sort of time save is pretty difficult, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, so that was Hotshot Racing, like I said, released in 2020, made by Sumo Digital. Go check it out, pick it up if you wish to do so. It is a very fun game in terms of like picking up and playing it. You don't need much skill to learn how to play it, and obviously it's one of them games that's easy to play, hard to master, but you soon get there as well. We do have an art splitter on SRC if you want to give it a try. Please note that each Grand Prix, you can do each one individually as a speed run, or you can do the normal, hard, or the expert for Grand Prix 1 through 4. Grand Prix 5, which is this one here, is its own thing entirely. That's because of the fact that it was DLC with the game apparently, and as a result that is just the one Grand Prix that has its own like category on its own for some reason. If you want to find me on Twitch, I'm over at Viper Races. You can find me on Blue Sky as well, over at Viper UK. Yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say. Thank you, like I said, once again to Prevent-A-Thon for allowing me to run this game and for allowing me to be in the event. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, hand it back over to our host. So thanks very much.
Yes, thank you so much, Viper. That run was amazing.